Hey guys, welcome to Real Difference Film School. I'm your host, Josiah, and I'm sitting here with an incredibly special guest, Ben Wiessner, producer of Thunder Road, which as a short film premiered at Sundance, won at Sundance, and now I believe as a feature film won at South by Southwest just this past March. I'm so blown away to be sitting here with you, and I'm really excited to dive into this film and really hear how what it was like producing this film, the kind of the process from beginning to end. So Ben, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So maybe you start with like a little bit of a background. How did you get started in filmmaking? What kind of got you interested in this whole journey?
I kind of got tricked into filmmaking. I was living with a bunch of filmmakers in New York City. At that point, I was doing a lot of production, like driving truck in New York City, driving for like music videos or terrible shows that I guess were streaming on AOL. But it was a couple $100 a day, and I was good enough at driving and loading trucks. And then slowly, as we were kind of working on some of our own content, which was to me kind of like an arts and crafts project for our household, I just got more involved in that community and really started loving the collaborative aspects of it. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what was the first film that you produced? Like what was kind of the first like jump over into actually having a more hands-on aspect and
The first thing that I really got down and dirty with was a short called Confusion Through Sand. We had done a couple of things that I was involved with before that, but it was a hand-drawn animation that we did a live action shoot for so that we could kind of get the camera movement down and all of these different more physical aspects of it. But then it was drawn in marker on like brown recycled paper so that it had this feeling of kind of a sandstorm behind it. And that's about the Iraq and Afghanistan war.
Wow. Very cool.
So it was a really neat dialogueless piece. And because of the subject, we were going around for months doing research, talking to a lot of different people, but then also figuring out how to get that film out to people in a way that they could use it as a tool. So I think that was a project that really kind of set the tone for not only what we do in terms of trying to tell important stories and do it in a way where you can really find people who need to hear what you're saying, but also need to show people what's being reflected in their own story.
That's awesome. Sounds like from the very get-go, you already have a very strong, like narrative sense, a very, very strong, like, kind of purpose as a filmmaker. And that's, obviously something that's really important in, kind of developing your own career as a filmmaker.
Yeah. I studied writing in college, and that was my background. I was running a literary press called The Operating System with Lynn DeSilva Johnson. She's still running it and doing an incredible job. But I came from that background. My mother was somebody who taught storytelling as a key piece of adult education, and she was doing that at NC State. So we were always kind of surrounded with this sense that there was something more impactful about stories than the way that we were kind of commercially using them as a culture.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So good. So tell me a little bit about Thunder Road, kind of how you got involved with the project and like maybe a little bit of a synopsis of what it's about.
Yeah. So I got involved with the project because Jim Cummings is somebody I've been producing with kind of since I snuck into film. He was my producing partner on Confusion Through Sand, as well as a handful of features before Thunder Road. And the project kind of came about as a short film. Jim got this like little jolt of inspiration about what it meant to be losing a parent. And what he would do if he were at his mother's funeral. And part of that was singing her favorite song, and that was Thunder Road. And it kind of unraveled from there of like, well, what if this person isn't exactly me? what if it's this other version that I could have been? And we're all Southern filmmakers. I grew up in North Carolina. Jim's from New Orleans, Louisiana, and it was just taking that character a little bit further away from ourselves and into a place where the emotions of the moment could run loose and be something that were a little bit too big to handle. So that was kind of a thesis that we wanted to follow through with, is putting this police officer in a situation that was very emotionally dramatic and had this heightened sense, but also you could play for laughs and really give people an opportunity to enjoy like who this character was in more of a personal sense as well.
Nice. So like from the very get-go, so was this like, I mean, did the short film, because I mean, obviously, I mean, you guys like made some serious waves here, and I mean, are still making waves. I mean, I think a theatrical run as well, right? Like in theaters just here recently, I think in October. And, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, premiering at Sundance and, you know, South by Southwest. I mean, did you guys expect it to kind of go that big? Had you guys already had short films kind of make waves like that before? Or was it just completely like, did it end up kind of gaining a momentum of its own?
We've had a series of real fortunate runs in the film festival world. We've actually, this past year was our 7th year in a row with a project down at South by Southwest.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the places that we really grew up as filmmakers, getting to watch all of these amazing shorts and features from all of these creators from around the world was really a place where we were able to hone our voice and figure out the things that we could be doing as filmmakers. But no, I mean, you never expect things to go well. I don't think that's how anybody ends up succeeding. I think you succeed because you're consistently prepared to fail, and you don't assume anybody's going to be interested. So you work as hard as possible to make sure that you're capturing the audience and that you're giving them something that can be really rewarding. If you just assume that they're going to be interested, they're never going to follow you all the way through.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So kind of riding on that experience of getting, you know, films into South by Southwest and in the past, and kind of knowing what to look for and how, you know, kind of like you were saying, also kind of being at the school South by Southwest, kind of learning from all these other short films. And so you guys already kind of had an idea what to go for, but, you know, like you said, I mean, one obviously can't plan on that. So it's still, I mean, like you're saying, fortunate turn of events. So what was the feeling like when you guys like we're kind of jumping around the timeline here after it got produced, but what was it like once it started really, you know, once you started seeing that it really was connecting with audiences?
Yeah, it was a very strange experience going to our premiere at South by this year. I was the poor soul out front with our handful of filmmaker tickets to hand out to people. And I'm out there trying to get it to cast members and everything like that. But there was a line of an extra like 300 people that didn't even get into the film, in addition to it being sold out. And it was kind of at that moment as all that hecticness was happening where I was like, oh, something's happening here. Like we've had features previously in competition at South by, and it already felt really different. And then I finally sit down and the film starts playing, and it kind of opens up with like a reshot version of the short film. And that felt really good, and the audience was into it. And then as the title card comes up 10 minutes into the film, everybody just starts hooting and hollering and clapping. Wow. And it was like, oh, we don't know what we're in for. So it was really neat just like watching those next 80 minutes unravel, and like all of these really goofy, dumb Southern jokes that made us laugh were suddenly landing with an audience, and you could feel the person in front of you like crying as their neighbor was laughing, and then they'd switch spots in terms of who was crying and who was laughing. And that was the moment where we were like, okay, this is what we wanted to do. And that was a real holy shit moment for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, it's got to be really surreal, when one kind of has that experience, or one's like, "Oh my gosh, other people like it too," and to that extent, I mean, the award. So it won like the kind of the grand prize of South by Southwest, right? Like that was right this past March.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Which
mean, that's
was
yeah.
kind of a nice, shocking moment.
Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but kind of like going back to
Hmm.
what that feels like,
Hmm.
there was a good friend of ours, Joey Alley, she's a terrific director, came up
Hmm.
to us right after and she asked me like, oh, like said congratulations, we hugged, and she had that question of like, what does it feel like? And my immediate response was just, it's the second best thing. It's like
Wow.
almost as good as being on set for this was. And
Wow.
that was it, where it was like, okay, this thing is special because of how it was created and how
Mm.
the kind of family that goes into making something.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. So, like jumping back a little bit into kind of the production side of it, obviously you were on as producer, you had worked with Jim Cummings before, producing some of his stuff. But what was producing this particular work like?
Um, it was just really nice having the team we did come
Hmm.
together. It was a lot of people we had worked with previously, um, including my producing partner, Natalie Metzger, who's just one of my very favorite people to be on set with, and just
Nice.
like always that like constant perfect teammate.
Mm.
And then our cinematographer, Lowell Meyer, we had shot like probably 8 or 10 short films with already. Our production designer was somebody who we had already done 2 features with and a whole bunch of shorts. So
Mm.
there was this kind of like culture already built into what we were looking to do.
Mm.
And then having all of these people surrounding you who could really help translate that to their department, and then
Mm.
help foster these other people to really become a part of what was being created, not just visually or story wise, but really kind of like that fun summer camp
Yeah.
aspect that is so rewarding when you can pull it off.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it really sounds like it was a dream team that came together there. So, what was your process in kind of pulling that team together? Was that something that you were actively involved with as producer on this film?
Yeah, and these are relationships that we've kind of been
Hmm.
cultivating. These are people we've been supporting
Right, right.
with our projects, with their projects. Like
Hmm.
these are these are the people that we've grown with as
Hmm.
filmmakers.
Hmm.
So in a lot of ways, it was like they natural to build this team because we knew who had been pushing us creatively,
Hmm.
and who we thought could kind of go to the next level with us as well.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so that's of course a great thing if you're working together with so many different people and kind of continue to build those relationships that you kind of get to see different people's strengths and kind of where they really excel and who, so one can then really patchwork together, like you're saying, really a winning team that's really going to excel in every aspect. So that's, props in being able to pull that all together. I think that's really awesome.
And you know what their strengths are, so you can
Hmm.
build the project creatively around
Mm.
what your team does best. So
Mm.
yeah, that was that really nice opportunity. Knowing in advance who we were going to be working with, we could really
Mm.
push the aesthetic towards what they do best.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, another aspect that producers obviously very involved with, especially on independent films, financing. Money isn't a problem on independent films; it's the problem on independent films, right? So, how did you guys go about funding Thunder Road?
What's funding?
What? Sorry.
uh, what's funding? Yeah, it was tough. I mean, we really thought it would go different this time.
Yeah. In what way?
Having something that had already been a Sundance award-winning short film, that
Hmm.
kind of had this proof of concept built into it. Uh, we thought there'd be support We thought there would be a company that would come along, and it took us a long time and a lot of no's to get over that notion. And so we did the thing, and we did the water bottle tour, and people just kept telling us no, that it couldn't be done. It couldn't be done for that price point. It wouldn't be good enough. And then finally we just decided it's going to be good. Like we can do this. So we started a Kickstarter. We were just blown away by the support of the community. At that moment, we tried to fundraise for $10,000. I think in the first 12 hours, we got $17,000 in. We ended up raising like $36,000 in that month. And the other thing that Kickstarter is really amazing for is not only the kind of momentum it brings and the funding it brings in, but also it's a really great it's PR that pays you, basically. You're letting all of these people who don't know you're making this film know that you're making the film. So we had people reach out from across the world who then came on as small investors for the film. So we were able to bring in like another $70,000+ through selling off small parts of the film. And those are just from people who were reaching out because we ran a Kickstarter. So after that, it was like, okay, well, we're halfway there. And it's always easier to bring in that second half after that.
So did I understand that properly? Sorry, the connection kind of cut in and out there for just a split second. So you were saying that you guys were also then able to get like kind of like have kind of micro investing, you know, where anybody can get a little bit of equity in the film, also through Kickstarter? Was that also through Kickstarter, or was that
no? That was because of the Kickstarter.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Wanting to invest.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool.
And that's where that extra $70,000+ came in from.
Gotcha. So building a vested interest in the audience, and then bringing them on board in a greater capacity. Awesome. Yeah, so cool.
And it's a really neat experience when you're going through, and like these are people that like when you're having a shitty day 2 months later, like either the morning's going wrong on set or it's in post-production and you just feel this loss of momentum. You can just like think of these people who believed in you enough to just like turn what their livelihoods and like their hours into supporting you. So that kind of community support means so much more than just like the financial support. It raises you up as a creator to like know who your audience is and that it is meaningful to them and that you do have to push through and just eat your vegetables, like get your work done.
Yeah. Oh, what a great way to put it. Yeah. So do you think like building on a previous a portfolio of films that you had worked on, was there already kind of a pre-existing audience, and that kind of that's kind of where the value in kind of winning at Sundance and being at South by Southwest, where that kind of came in, or where did that audience come from? Because you were saying that you were kind of surprised by kind of the lack of interest from kind of on the corporate side, people being interested that you guys had won Sundance and being willing to kind of finance the full feature film. But, it's kind of obvious that, that people did rally around it, then more in an independent way than in a corporate way. So kind of what was that? So how did you guys go about kind of getting that audience? Do you guys know kind of where, at what point they really started rallying around you guys? Like, was it because of the Sundance, or was it the other short films that you've done, or anything in particular that you guys did to build that audience?
Yeah, between shooting Thunder Road the short and Thunder Road the feature, we shot 9 other one-shot short films.
Wow!
So this is something that we've been doing and pushing to people and kind of creating, and also we've been around this independent film world for a while, doing other directors' projects as well. So we've put out 25 short films online.
Wow.
And so once you kind of build that sort of, I think, trust with your audience, that these are people who've seen us tackle subject after subject after subject in all sorts of really handmade ways that are tailored specifically to the story, I think that's where that relationship comes from, is that they know that we're going to work hard. And they know that we're going to turn something out that is in whatever way surprising and rewarding for them.
Awesome, awesome, so cool. Really great hearing it. Yeah, so what was it like pursuing distribution for Thunder Road? I mean, you guys are getting like all sorts of different press reviews and everything rolling in. I mean, it's really, I mean, in the kind of big scheme of things too, really making waves. I mean, the fact that it got is available on iTunes. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys self-distributed or whether it was picked up, but all that kind of aspect, a theatrical run. How do you guys go about pursuing distribution? I know it's something that a lot of independent filmmakers are also a little bit in the dark about.
It was a neat opportunity where we got to go back to everybody who had said no once and they said no a second time. So,
oh, the joy.
Yeah, we thought like with the award at South by Southwest, with the way that audiences were reacting, that there would be somebody. Again, we had this like little bit of a false notion that somebody would come on and help. Luckily, we were also doing our due diligence. We had been talking to the team over at Sundance Institute who runs a creative distribution grant.
Gotcha.
And so kind of when we saw everything downturn at Sundance this year in terms of the types of deals, what the numbers were, we were prepared to kind of take this on our own. So at South by Southwest, we were also hosting screenings in New York and Los Angeles for the distributors we wanted to be working with. And we had some really great conversations with them, but nobody wanted to put the movie in any theaters. And the types of deals that they were offering weren't any better than just the deal that we could get from Amazon Prime, who does the film festival stars, which was $100,000 minimum guarantee. And then you also make, because it's non-recoupable, you start getting royalties in from the first moment that you're streaming. So that kind of, it was almost the same exact amount of money just to do that, just for streaming, as giving away our rights for 25 years in the US and Canada and South America. And so it just didn't make sense to us. And it was really worrisome because we also were looking around at the landscape, and there were 110 films at South by Southwest this year that weren't able to get the same award because there's only one. And like, what happens to those films? And those are really amazing first and second time filmmakers. And it felt like if we were taking that deal, that it was a disservice. It was just setting bad precedents for all of these other projects that that need support so that these filmmakers get to make their next projects. And because we had the budget was so low for the film, we just decided we weren't willing to give it away. So we took the Sundance self-distribution grant, and they've been really helpful in terms of just like helping us think through what we can be doing, different ways to push the film. So we were able to work with Alamo Drafthouse and do a week exclusive run at a bunch of their theaters across the country. And then we were able to tack on to that a whole bunch of really neat art houses that had their own community, that had people who come to the theater to show or to see what the programmers bring in. So it was this neat way to just like tap into communities all over the country and get to see them. Like Jim and I took off in my car, and we went to like 3 different theaters in Virginia. You know, I've been to Missoula, Montana with this project, Macon, Georgia, like all over the place, kind of getting to see the film with all of these different audiences, getting to hear their responses. I was in Detroit on Monday and just like getting to have this really beautiful conversation with film lovers and filmmakers. And that felt so much more important than just putting it up on iTunes, than just doing this digital distribution, which is where we'll make our money. We weren't doing the theatrical run because that's going to be the thing that makes this project successful financially, but it is something that can make it more more of an impact on the film world and on film communities. So we wanted to kind of balance both of those things. And then we worked with Quiver, who's been really wonderful to put it up on Google Play and all of these other places. It's on all of the cable VODs as well.
Wow.
And it's been this neat experience of kind of just finding these people who are willing to help and are willing to bring you to an audience and bring you to a place where people can see the film.
That's awesome. I really like what you were saying there too about like going with kind of independent art houses and like stuff like that, like kind of really bringing it kind of goes along. I mean, it really seems like the film kind of from beginning to end is just a very typical like independent film Cinderella story, not in the sense that it started off from nothing, but rather that it's very much something that always like comes back to the people. You know, it's always like finding the best way just to bring it to deliver it to the people like directly, instead of going corporate or instead of going with this distribution deal that would have, you know, probably rather been a bad thing than a good thing. And all the opportunities that's opened up in the process, like that really stands out. And I think that's really amazing that you guys chose to go that route. And I think it's cool how it's hopefully also paying off for you guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've made a whole lot more money doing it this way than if we had given away the rights. And
wow.
More importantly than that, though, I think more people are able to see it and they're able to have a relationship with the story that we were trying to tell.
So good. So good. So what was like the biggest challenge in producing this film?
Probably giving away the tickets before the premiere. That was tough. That was hectic. But no, I think the biggest challenge was getting off our asses and actually doing it. It can be really debilitating when you listen to people tell you no, and just kind of taking that control in our own hands and realizing we don't need their permission. We don't need their money. We don't need their support. What we do need is a team of really wonderful filmmakers. We need a bunch of great actors. We need all of these other things. And like, let's concentrate on how to build those things with the connections we have with the people that we already love and want to be working with. But yeah, it was figuring out how to stop listening to the word no. I think that's always the hardest.
Absolutely. And what's next with this project? So I know it just had a, you know, festival run, you know, kind of in October. I think I saw that it started October 12th, somewhere around then. What's kind of the future for this film?
So there's a lot of different futures for it. I mean, we're still playing in some theaters across country right now. We're on iTunes, we're on Google Play, we're on a lot of these different platforms. And then there's some really exciting stuff coming up for it internationally. We're still playing a bunch of wonderful festivals all over the world. But then it's, I think we're in week 7 or week 8 of its theatrical run in France. Over 75,000 people have gone to the theaters in France already. We are going to be releasing it theatrically in the UK and Ireland and New Zealand and Australia and Spain and all of these other countries. And we're kind of trying to figure out just how to do the same thing, how to find the right partner, how to find the people who are willing to introduce the film to their audiences. But yeah, that's something that's really exciting to us is this is in some ways a very American seeming film because of the topics it covers, because of how Southern a lot of the humor is, but also we always really tried to balance that. And that's something we've learned doing dialogueless animation and all of this other stuff, how much of our audience does exist internationally. So we really tried to play up the physical comedy, tried to do all of these things that could really bring in an audience to story without having to have like the little words always be the most telling. So yeah, that's kind of this fun, exciting thing where we're just figuring out what the response will be in North Africa and the Middle East and all over. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What a cool place to be as a filmmaker. And, you know, for anybody watching too, if you guys want to check out this film, please highly recommend that you do. They can check it out iTunes, right? Amazon Prime, any video on demand services. Is it also internationally or just here in the States right now?
That's just here in the States right now. And then we'll be rolling out in a whole bunch of different territories real soon.
Awesome. How exciting. How exciting. And what's next for you? Do you have any next projects that you're working on?
We're already been working.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
at South by Southwest, we also had a short film called Krista, which was directed by Danny Madden, who sound designed and creative directed Thunder Road. And that won a couple of awards at South by Southwest. So we followed the same model. We ran a Kickstarter that night when it won those awards. We shot it this August. We're in post-production right now, and we're just so thrilled with the footage that we were able to get, and just the incredible performances both on camera and from the team to make that happen.
That's incredible.
But yeah, we're gonna keep sprinting, man. You know.
How exciting! How exciting! Well, I mean, it sounds like you guys are on a roll, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. Exciting stuff. So, as we kind of bring this in for a landing, you know, would you have any like parting words of wisdom for independent filmmakers watching this?
Yeah, find your team. Find your team. Find your team. Be really good to them. Push each other. And figure out a way that you can be growing together. Your peers will help you. We've been so supported over the years by so many people. But you can't imagine it's going to be the people with the money and the power who are going to be supporting you. That's a dangerous belief. Find people you trust and believe in them instead.
So good. So good. Awesome. So yeah, thank you, Ben, for joining me and being my guest today. And I'm excited to be, you know, keeping my eyes out for more awesome stuff from you guys. So really excited for you guys.
Cheers. Thanks so much for having me again.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Ben Wiessner. I was so excited to have him on the show today. Personally, my biggest takeaway was the kind of the soft stuff that really makes a film work. That it's not the gear or the visual effects or the budget even, you know, but that it's really the story and the team that you get together to help execute it. That's really what sets your film apart. I hope that you guys got a lot of value out of this. If you did, consider giving us a like and sharing this video. Let me know in the comments below if you have a takeaway, what you got, what your favorite part of the interview was. In any case, I hope this brought a lot of value to you. And yeah, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Keep it real. Woo!